On this episode of Game Shack, I have some interesting new developments from Arcade1up. Coming up next. Hey everybody, welcome on back into the Game Shack. I am your host, JDV for EvilGeniusEntertainment.com. Thanks for stopping by. Well, it is now March 1st as I record this episode, 2023, which means spring is right around the corner. And with that, hope springs eternal that we're going to see some really good cabs coming from Arcade1up. But there might be some bad news on that front as the Deluxe Legacy cabs, really the only cab that they've really solidly announced for this year, might be having some issues right before they even get released to the public. And I say that for a couple of different reasons. One, if you go over to Arcade1up's website right now, they have a coming soon splash page, and it does not have Ms Pac-Man listed on the Legacy Deluxe cab. While it still has Pac-Man and Class of '81, the fact is that Ms Pac-Man cab is probably the biggest selling cab that Arcade1up has ever made, and thus the biggest selling or most selling cab in the 3/4 scale market of all time. So it's a little weird to see such a popular cab not featured on their coming soon page, and it was there before, so they've pulled it off. And thanks to Joe Ruby for pointing that out to me. Thanks a lot, guys. And if you have any other kind of tips like that, feel free to shoot them my way. But I found that to be a very interesting thing. Like, is it just so they can update the artwork, or is there something else going on here? Well, I think there might be, and this is why. If you go over to P-Dub's new video right now, he's got a video of the first Class of '81 Legacy Deluxe cab out in the wild. And basically it confirms some of the things that we suspected were going to be true, both good and bad. One, it looks like the riser is indeed eliminated, and you're getting the new nice one-piece sides on the left and the right side. They're going to be a lot more arcade original because that riser is gone. And the screen is slanted nicely, and it looks like it's going to play very nicely in that regard. Now, I can see two negatives right off the bat. One, it is not any taller than the other cab. So for a deluxe cab, you're not getting deluxe height. It's not an XL, it's not a Pro or anything like that. It's going to be the same exact height of the existing Gen 2 Legacy cabs. There's a part of the video that P-Dub shows where the startup screen is shown, and to me, when I look at that video, I can see smearing, washed out colors, brightness on the edges of the screen, all indications that it is not a BOE screen or some other similar equivalent excellent monitor. Instead, it looks like you're going to be getting the same washed out monitors that we saw in the Gen 2 cabs, which were the primary thing I had against those cabs. It's the reason I didn't pick one of those cabs up. I personally don't care about the riser one way or the other. It really doesn't affect me at all, but having a not great screen in it did affect my desire to buy that cab. So if that is true, and we don't know that it's true, we still got to find that out, but if it's true and there is no BOE or similar monitor in those cabs, and they do just use the crisp monitor, which is all they say that is going to be on there, I think that is a disastrous decision, particularly when you are charging $50 more for the same cab. Well, we already know Arcade1up has pulled the Casino-cade back to the workshed to get redesigned after a mountain, a veritable avalanche of negative feedback from the community and just anybody who ever read about that. And I think that's a good thing. That screen was too small. There was no pull arm. I don't think there was online connectivity. There was no ability to have any kind of a payout, either real or virtual. There were a lot of things wrong with that cabinet. So I actually applaud Arcade1up for pulling it back because it's a new thing. It's a completely different style cab than they've ever tried to make before. But that's not true with these legacy cabs now, is it? This is the third try they've had at it. And so it is very odd to me that they would ever think, or if it's even remotely possible, that these things do not have quality monitors in them for $500. I think that would be a vast, disastrous thing. It would certainly turn this community off to them, and maybe some new buyers who buy that cab for the first time expecting to see something really good, and instead they get a very washed out monitor. Again, that's not confirmed, but boy, oh boy, considering that there has not been any change to their website describing what the monitor is, there's been no description of what game lists there are on their website, and we now see that Ms Pac-Man has been pulled off of their site. All leads me to believe that maybe something is afoot, and maybe Arcade1up might be rethinking about some of the design for Ms Pac-Man. And one little extra bit of news, and this again comes out of P-Dub's video, is that this guy's owner's manual in this Class of 81 Legacy Deluxe cab has a little advertisement for the Fast and Furious. It looks to be a stand-up cab just the way that Ridge Racer was, and essentially I'm gonna guess is pretty much just a re-release of that, just with Fast and Furious and Fast and Furious game. No word on how many games are gonna be on that cab or how anything else about it, or even if it's really going to come out, because again, this is just something in an owner's manual for a game that is not really out in wide release yet. Do you have any interest in the Fast and Furious racing cab, or are you starting to, like me, look a little bit more at third-party cabs where you can have a lot more driving games and you can have the ability to sit down in a much nicer looking rig? Personally, I don't have any desire to play a driving game standing up, but again, that might be your jam. All right, that's it, guys. Love each other, and until next time, I'll see you in the Game Shack. Mwah!
Be sure to visit evilgeniusentertainment.com for exclusive content, swag, casting call news, and much, much more.